and I love the way you get people involved with your conversations and interviews. But again, they're not even interviews. They're just wonderful interactions amongst humans. So I appreciate it.
Well, Tom, you have been an important influence in my life because you have given me that. As I was coming into my 70s when I got a chance to meet you, and I had gone into a forgetting of the gifts that I had. They were there, but I didn't know that I had them, that I didn't know I hadn't reconnected with them. And your nurturance and your supporting of me and you saying, yes, Dennis, these are still here. These are things that you can do, reminded me, brought back to mind my gifts and what I could do. So you were an important cog in this journey to remind me that I still have things to bring to the planet.
You certainly do have gifts. So let me say it right back to you as well, because I've gotten so much from you and Renee. But your experience and even just talking right now, we like to call it in our studio the brails, when the hairs on the arm go up, and it's just a good feeling. And like a jazz musician, that's how you are with your words. I appreciate the pauses in the proper areas, and also it just gives for an effect to really enjoy the conversation more. We all probably need to stop in real time in life and celebrate and appreciate things in real time, the good and the bad, including our conversations like this.
Tom, Renee was telling us, our director Renee was telling us that you are in Puerto Rico. Is that right?
Yes.
What takes Tom Cheshire to Puerto Rico and makes that wonderful opportunity to be able to celebrate this amazing culture, this amazing island? What do you do there?
Well, first things first, you just nailed it. Lovely island with lovely people. I mean, you couldn't ask for a nicer group of people. I am in an old editing suite in Telemundo Studios in San Juan, Puerto Rico. My company is building some new studios here. NBC bought Telemundo. This is the first building that in the late 60s, I believe it was 1968, that the first Caribbean soap opera was ever created within this building on this floor. Yes, the memories and the photos and the pictures and the vibes are just amazing. And you're going up an elevator one day and you recognize a talk show host like Alejandra, who's wonderful and beautiful, and her and I are talking a little bit. My Spanish is poquito, but their English is wonderful. And then at the end of the day, I'm leaving and I'm in an elevator and I'm talking to a clown who's been on the air in Telemundo for 30 years, and we're making each other laugh. It's absolutely beautiful. Game shows, soap operas, shows with doctors, talk shows, people trying to help people. It really is a lovely island. And I've been here a few times before, but living here is completely different. And I know, you don't need a passport, but it is another country. And I'm a big fan of, and I was raised right to respect a place when it's not yours. So I certainly live like I'm a guest here, and I'm so humbled and grateful to the people who are being so generous with their time and their words and their kindness back to me.
There's so much in life about reciprocity, isn't it, Tom? To where when we give that grace, the grace is received, and there's a circulation to it. There's a natural circulation. And that's what you're bringing when you're there. So you're combining building a studio at the same time you're continuing your music and creating your art, and doing that, because those things must go together.
They really do, and I say this all the time, and again, I'm a fan of yours, and Renee, my sister, as well. I learn from both of you. I'm a constant believer of try to be a better person today than you were yesterday. And this thing up here is a gorgeous sponge. So learn every day and become better at what you do, whether it's being good to people or doing your art. And also, there's nothing wrong with realizing, oh, the way I was doing something for a while, it worked, but let me change this up. Like, for instance, I've been doing some solo shows. I just played a couple shows. I flew to Philadelphia and played some shows. I played some shows in New York City. And one of the shows was, well, it was a rough situation. I was singing at a celebration of life for a dear friend of mine who passed away to cancer, and basically I realized I had a bunch of demos that I was sitting on that he and I had worked on. And I remember when I did him, I was like, oh, one day we'll get to him. And now he's gone. So I was like, let me share them with the world, and let him share them with his parents and his wife and his kids. And they were so grateful. And then it took my lovely assistant, Denise, who you guys know, who was the best, my partner in crime, for her to tell me, I love the last record you did, and I know how much money you spent on it, and it was not cheap. Let me tell you, these demos you put out with flaws and imperfections are way better, and people are connecting way more with them. And so, like, people are going nuts, and they're like, wait a minute, I understand what you were going through here, and you probably wanted to do another vocal take, but you didn't have enough time, or you ran out, something happened, and this is what you got in that stuck moment in time. And now my friend Max isn't here, and it's like this gorgeous thing. So it's changed everything completely. And so besides writing and working on new music, I'm sitting on putting out a demo between 3 months ago and 25 years ago. Every 2-3 weeks, I have about 100 songs coming out in the next 6 months.
Oh,
And
well,
it's such
we
a great
have
feeling.
you allowed us to have a demo on this, and so Renee
Yeah.
has it queued up, and so we're going to play a little bit of it so that we can
Oh,
go ahead
lovely. Yeah.
and enjoy to be able to hear some. All right.
Now I feel much older now. I walked and thoughts about the falling times I had so near. The words you whispered in my ear. Now I feel it's my last song. I can't imagine it lasting long.
Oh, wow.
Tell me about this song. What a
Oh, my goodness.
heartrending and what a piece. Tell me about it.
Yes. Again, so it's one that we hadn't visited or revisited or gone back to in a while. And again, shout out to Denise, who's got impeccable taste in music and has new, fresh ideas that brings them back to me. And she, so we're going back and listening to these songs, and this is one of them. And clearly, there are imperfections in it, in the cracking of the voice, but also that comes across more honest and more authentic and from the heart,
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, we'll get to it one day. Maybe we'll change this lyric. But it was written right before I moved back to New York City, the end of 2011. I think we had the riff maybe before then, but we changed it around a bit. And I was going through hard on the sleeve moments, not the very best place in my life. And that's, comes across in this recording of it.
Exactly.
And then it takes these guts, these, chutzpah, these balls to say, okay, I'm going to give it to the world now. And we put it out a few days ago, and I've gotten notes from strangers from all over the world saying, thank you so much. Oh my goodness, how do you emote this way? One person said, who hurts you? And the thing is trust me, I'm doing better than ever these days. So happy, and certainly the best version of Tom Cheshire I've ever been. But it's very okay to go back and look at those wounds and those flaws, because listen, no one wants to be flawless. It's very okay. Flaws are beautiful. They're sexy. They mean you're trying to learn every day.
That's right. What I love about your perspective here is because perfect doesn't mean without flaws. Perfect
Right.
means complete. It is what it is for that moment. My life was perfect up to that moment in that it was complete, even with its flaws, with the things that I have.
Right.
So I love your humility, and because
Oh,
I find humility to be a power, not a diminishment. Humility
sure.
means that I'm teachable. I am open-hearted. I have my mind and my heart open to be able to grow. That to me is what humility is. When I see
I
a
love that.
Gandhi, or I see a figure like Jesus, or Mother Teresa, or any of there's a humility in them that isn't part of a hierarchical standard, but
Right.
but part of a way we approach the universe.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, and I love everybody you mentioned, because these lines get blurred, especially the temperature, the climate these days, and it's like there's nothing wrong with religion. I'd say I'm certainly more of a spiritual person than a religious person,
Me
and
too.
I study more of Buddhist views than the Christian views I was raised by. But at the end of the day, it should be all the same thing, and it's just being the best neighbor and being the best human to another human.
How is that not the lesson of every single spiritual path that we go on? And that's
Yeah,
the whole thing. I mean, I see this as I see that people who have different spiritual paths, or religious traditions, or how is they're making their way up this mountain.
right,
I'm making
right,
my way up the mountain, but we're both going up this mountain, and they're going to have a different path, and they're going to have a different trails, and opportunities and switchbacks and all. But
right,
we're all doing the same thing, going into this life at this time.
right. And some person or another person might not be ready to learn or accept this one thing yet, and that's okay too. I think the most beautiful thing is just knowing that you're going to learn and knowing that you're going to change. I think if you want to be the same person 25 years later that you were at a certain age, oh, you're not getting it right. You're not getting it right. I hope to continue to change, and I hope to continue to give back and just be a spiritual being. Also be a silly being and make people laugh. And
Yes.
certainly be a hugger and be affectionate, and also give you my shoulder and my ear to cry on, whatever it needs at that time.
Yeah. So tell me about, one of the things about the United, because as you and I have discussed in the past, I was born in Mexico, and I
Yes.
have a great affinity for the Latino culture, and to be and because I feel like that the United States is too beige, and that
Right.
the Latino cultures bring the color and the music and the art and the science and the so much that the United States needs, and so
Sure.
both of us are feeding it, and you're seeing that in Puerto Rico.
They really do. They really do. I mean, like I said, lovely people, lovely island. I have not met one person, a stranger that hasn't. I mean, everyone is so nice and thoughtful and affectionate, and they have their religious views, but don't push them. I'd say, coming from an artist background, I certainly
Sure.
have always, even though I claim to be independent when it comes to politics, I've always leaned more to the left, or you would say liberal views. I would say that they have that here as well, which really impressed
Or
me. Um, but the reality is they kind of think what we were talking about when it comes to religious views, and it's like, listen, Jesus was hanging out with gypsies and some prostitutes and some pimps, and he went into the church and threw the table
absolutely.
over and threw the money over, and he was just trying to help and be good to people, and that's how they are spiritual, and they celebrate Christmas seriously from like
Yeah.
Thanksgiving to mid-January. There's like four
I
different
mean,
Christmases.
if you can't, I can't even conceive of this being Jesus as not being this fun, brilliant, delightful, humor filled, ironic, just an amazing
Right.
light to be able to, because there is no other way. He couldn't be this dour picture of piety. This was an extraordinary being, and I take that as a I love the idea of him as an elder brother, a really cool elder brother, rather than separating it into a different place, just a really cool elder brother that says, come on, I'm going to demonstrate for you, and go ahead.
Right.
Now you give it a shot.
Right. Someone who completely gets it. As a matter of fact, and for those who don't agree, that's completely fine too, because that's what is beautiful about life, having conversations with people you don't agree with. But even if you just think of him as a character, which that's beautiful, I always think of the term, walk a mile in my shoes. I think Jesus was that guy. He would say, wait a minute, I see what this single mom is going through. Let me put on her shoes for a minute and kind of try to experience what she's been going through.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I think about that with white male privilege.
Sure,
Because
100%.
I know in my life, because very often in my life, it can be, I can forget how much privilege, how much benefit of the doubt that I get from being a white male. And then I was thinking about it, I thought, now, wouldn't that be wonderful if everyone could experience the privilege that I had over my life, to be able to experience that, to be able to know that when I walk into a store, people greet me. When I walk into a job interview, I'm already at zero. Then I can go ahead and do the work, but I don't carry the baggage that many other genders, other ways of being that I don't carry. And so I would love for that to be for everyone to be able to experience what I've experienced over my life.
Oh my goodness. I couldn't agree with you more. And that, we met at such a rough time, but I'm so grateful that we did. And I'm so grateful that the world and the earth allowed it. Because again, I do really appreciate you so much, but it was such a weird time. And just because things have changed, I think some people still are in this funk or depression. And so when Renee reached out to me, I said, I have some positive things to bring, and I need to let people know that we are all in this together, and it's still okay to not be okay, but know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, because I am such a believer in all the good stuff. Yes.
I'm apologize for interrupting you there, but I want you to talk more about it. I want you to talk more about, because the positivity is what I love about your movement in positivity is that it isn't a denial that there are other things. They're not, but it's to sit down. It's what I see in it is that this is my North Star. This is my vector. This is the direction that I'm going to go. I'm going to go toward the light. I'm going to commit that the light is there, and I'm going to move toward it, and that changes everything.
100%. When I was in New York, which really was such an amazing experience to be able to sing. I was nervous, but to sing at my friend's celebration of life, it was so beautiful. But I reconnected. Well, I met his family, which was lovely, but I reconnected with some old friends, and that conversation came up, and some of them were talking about, even when I wrote that song that we just played, they were like, how come we didn't know that you were so depressed or you were a mess back then? And I said, well, that would be kind of selfish to bring that to you. You have your own problems. So I just dealt with it. And at the end of the day, I knew that, everything in life is temporary, including my sadness. It will be gone. And
what a blessing. When you were in the depths of that depression, how did you hold on to that?
Well, there were a few close calls that I'm glad I failed at. I will say that I almost went to the point of like, I can't do this anymore. I'm so proud to say that no matter what life hands me from now on, I will never be in that period of darkness, that much darkness. But I just knew. I just knew it. I said, I have a job here to do, and it's to maybe get my heart broken a few more times, lose some sleep, lose my mind, but I have a job to dream and write and share this gift with everyone. And that's what I'm continuing to do. And I do it with pride, and it's a pleasure. And like I said, it's an honor, and I'm even a bit intimidated talking to you. You're so great, but we love that, because it's good for us.
Allow us to be intimidated. Allow us to be to both feel the deep appreciation for one another.
Right.
what we've done along the path, because now in my late 70s, I'm seeing a lot of, I sit there and I look, the metaphor that I use. I don't know if you've ever looked at World War II footage, and you see Omaha Beach, and you see the men coming down, going into the withering machine gun fire. And you'll see they're just walking along and they're shooting, and then one guy to the left will fall, and then one guy to the right will fall. And I'm wondering, why am I not getting when people younger than I am and this or not, so I don't know, but I know that there's something there. And if that life force, whatever it is, let's value it and let me see what I can do to construct. And that was why I wanted to see you today. I was hungering to have the time to spend time with you, Tom, so that I can have my batteries charged. I can go ahead to have them so that I can know that for these next paths, and because they're going to be ups and downs and challenges, both of us that are going to face, because that's, life. But we get a chance to do that. But by reaching out to you and reaching out my hand to you, I know that I am not I'm not alone. And that's really when I get talked about. When I get all alone in this head, oh Lord, that is not.
We realize, we realize that at the end of the day, because our true friends only want the best for us. Our worst friendship sometimes is us in our own brain, and that's the unhealthy thing, right? We create these things like, oh, they're not going to like me. Well, why not? How about I just go there and be the person I am? And the other thing I wanted to say earlier is I really think it's healthy. The older you get, and whatever you're trying to do, whether it's music, art, or charity work, which is so important, is put yourself in that uncharted water. Take the risk, and the rewards will be ginormous, will be tremendous, because affecting people feels so good. I mean, we were taught it feels better to give than receive. Unfortunately, in this world, sometimes people forget that, but it feels so good. It's absolutely wonderful, and the payback is tenfold. It's tremendous.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, about the giving and receiving. My sense of it is that giving and receiving are exactly equal. They're two sides of the coin, that they go together, and that there's no such thing as a one-way blessing. My love and appreciation for you, and being able to appreciate what I have, rebounds to you, and that you get an opportunity to be able to receive that too, and then we both are uplifted. So there's a reciprocity in that is so important.
It's a gorgeous exchange. Well, the Beatles line, the love I make is equal to the love that I take. I mean, it's absolutely perfect. I mean, I absolutely love that line. And the older I get, I go back to, whether it's just that sentimental mood but I go back to these things that my parents played, and they mean so much more even. And I always loved that line, but I love it more now.
Yeah. Yeah, I was, over the course of history, this is the first time when you and I have had access to this entire genre from classical all the way to absolutely contemporary, and being able to be exposed to it. It has to work on our art. It has to work on us as artists if we're open, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I actually am. I guess you'd say I'm a method to my madness, or I'm a creature of habit. So I get to the studio at like 6 a.m. I have a cup of coffee. I usually listen to talk radio. I listen to a podcast interview. And then for the first few hours, I listen to nothing but instrumental music, because I'm looking at numbers, working with engineering. And the last thing I need to be doing is singing a chorus that's going to mess me up. So classical music, or Miles Davis in a silent way, John Coltrane, some great jazz, instrumental music. And then after I have my second cup of coffee around lunchtime, I go back and I know where I'm at. And I'm also planning for the next day and the next week. Then I could put on a Beatles song, or a song with choruses that I don't mind, and I'm not going to mess up some numbers on some labels that are on some cables right in front of me.
Wonderful. And so how long are you going to be in Puerto Rico? Is there an end time to that when the
Yes,
studio will be finished?
yes, we've been here a year and 3 or 4 months already, and it's been wonderful. And I think we have another few months left. We'll be here to the end of the year, and this project will be done. But I will tell you this: the goal is by next year to come back and get a place that we can live here 3 or 4 months out of the year, because it's something that I want in my life, hopefully, for the rest of my days. It's not an accident. Science has proven. I live on the water. I live on a beach. So putting your feet. I walk 2 miles on the beach every night, and I do my meditating. And your feet in the ocean, seeing the ocean, hearing the ocean, putting your hands or your head and your face under the water is nothing but good for you and relaxes, makes you tranquilo, and it brings down whatever stresses this life gives you. And it's so healthy for you, because the reality is just during boy, I'm doing all kinds of Beatles references today, and I didn't plan on this. But John Lennon said, "Life is what happens while you're making plans." So during this whole time, my mom passed away. We're 3 weeks away from it being the 1 year anniversary of my mom passing. It still feels like yesterday. She passed while I was here. Luckily, I was able to fly back and forth and be with her. Also, let me give a shout out. We lost DJ Meowski, Meow, our TCB, our cat. So shout out to Denise running things at the studio in Atlanta. But our beautiful cat, Meow, kind of left us this week, and we're just sending all our love to her, because she was the best. Another great assistant. So reality is while we're doing these things, so many other things, ups and downs and all around, the good and the bad are happening. But staying focused on the goal, keeping your eyes on the prize, where you have that solace and that peace of mind, and being able to share with other people and give it to the world is the goal.